Hey YouTube. Well, once again I feel like I need to apologize for not making a video. Please enjoy my stories or whatever else might be on my mind today. Let's start back in January. We spent about 10 days in Quartzite with 43 other Monaco motorhomes. And that was fun, big campfire in the middle of the circle. And Quartzite in the January it's unbelievable. If you've never been there and you have anything to camp in, just go at least once. We're going to go back this year. I drove over to the RTR this past January, where all of those people that follow cheap living, Bob, whatever his name is, that was really interesting. And I have a real kindred spirit for those people that live in vans and whatever else they've converted into their traveling home. Like I said, I could be perfectly happy living in that kind of situation if it weren't for a wife who's mildly disabled and both of us enjoying the creature comforts that come with a 40-foot Monaco. Anyway, January was there. We left the motorhome in Tucson on February 5th, and we flew home here to central Mexico. Took care of some things here, and on April 20th we went back up to Tucson and took the motorhome from Tucson to Rapid City. So the first day we're in Tucson, we're parked in a driveway, and there's a little retaining wall about 2 foot high, kind of a slope made out of rocks, and I'm opening up the bay that hooks my water hose up. And I was backing up to jump over that little wall in order to not hit my head on the bay door that's open, and I didn't realize I'd backed up underneath the corner of my bedroom slide, and when I jumped I hit the corner, which is like a fiberglass guillotine, and I split my head open about 4 inches from here to here. 19 stitches, blood all over the place, bloody handprints all over the place, and the doctor at the emergency care place said, well, you got to come back in a week and get the staples taken out. I said, well, I'm not going to be here in a week, so I talked her into giving me the tool, and a week or so later we're out in the boonies, and I talked another cousin into taking the staples out, and she'd never done it before. She has a doctorate in nursing, but she hadn't actually ever done that before, and I got to tell you, the first couple of staples, it hurt. By the time she got to the last several staples, she was pretty good at it, and it was very comfortable. But got the staples out, and then we went to we were in New Mexico and went up to Abiquiu Lake. Beautiful place, and we found out in Abiquiu Lake that Lynn, we are entitled to use the handicap places in national parks, national forest, anything national, Corps of Engineers. She has a golden access pass because of her disabilities, and she's had that since 20 years ago. We got it in Zion National Park. But we never realized that it has a little wheelchair symbol on it, and we're entitled to, qualified. I don't like to use the word entitled. I don't like to be entitled for anything. We're qualified, it qualifies us to use the handicap areas in the parks. So that was kind of neat, and we got that spot in a couple of places after we found that out. And they're always the closest to the bathroom for sure. A lot of times the nicest place, the nicest spot in a park, and often a cement pad. Anyway, from there we went to a casino in a few miles away and stayed in a gravel parking lot for 10 days. And the reason we did that is because I was feeling punk and I found out at the hospital I had pneumonia. So 10 days of 2 weeks really of really feeling crappy. And they wanted to put me in the hospital, but I couldn't go to the hospital because Lynn really can't manage the motorhome without me. And I'm not talking about driving it. She doesn't drive that. She hasn't driven anything for years. But, well, she drove her Quattromoto. That's the four-wheel Honda ATV. And that's another story you should remind me to tell you sometime. The last few times she drove it. Anyway, she can't do the furnace and the aqua hot system and the batteries and the solar and all of that stuff is just, you know, she's not able to manage all of that stuff by herself. And anyway, so I couldn't go to the hospital, so we just stayed there in that gravel parking lot at a casino, and that was fine, except I felt like crap. And so after, like I said, a couple of weeks, 10 days there, we went on up into a higher elevation in New Mexico, up towards the New Mexico-Colorado border, and Lynn got me up one morning and said she had a terrible pain and she needed to go to the hospital. So we went, and the pain went away, but they figured out that she had low oxygen level in her blood, and they moved her from the emergency ward over to the regular hospital, checked her in, and she was in there for a day and a half with low oxygen. There was one big brouhaha about she takes several meds regularly, and we don't have insurance for meds in the States. We do here in Mexico, but in the States we have Medicare and a Medicare supplement. So we're pretty much covered, except we don't have Part D for drugs. And they wanted to administer their drugs to her instead of me giving her drugs, or her taking her drugs. Long story short, they made me, after me arguing and showing them all kinds of paperwork from Mexico that she in fact, you know, was taking what she was supposed to take. They made me sign 5 pieces of paper liability waivers for them, and then I brought her drugs into the hospital and then administered her regular meds. Anyway, I kept telling them, hey, she's got low oxygen level in her blood. The solution to this is stick her in the motorhome and drive downhill. And finally I got her checked out of the hospital, and we did exactly that, and oxygen level went up. We got one of those cuffs for your finger, shows you what your blood oxygen level is, and no problem since. So we left New Mexico, and I gotta go back there. At the time I was saying I'm never going back to New Mexico. I don't think I was treated very well there. I had pneumonia and a day and a half in the hospital, and oh, I forgot to tell you about the $5,000 worth of new inverter from some bad power in the park. New inverter, new transfer switch, new monitors, because the new inverter and the old monitor stuff didn't go together. Had them put in a Progressive Industries 50 amp hardwired electrical management system. Anyway, $5,000. That was another 10 days in Deming, New Mexico. And anyway, New Mexico didn't treat us very well. But I do want to go back there, and I will go back there. Colorado, we stopped and saw some friends in Denver, and went on up into Wyoming. Spent 3 days at a free park in Wheatland, Wyoming. It's a city park, free 50 amp service. They got a donation box, and we made a little donation, but free 50 amp service in a wonderful park, Wheatland, Wyoming. Driving and Vibin just made a video about that exact same place. Anyway, Wheatland, Wyoming, on into Rapid City, South Dakota, and spent pretty much the month of June helping my brother renovate a rental house. I also started getting a back problem. Not really a back problem, it's more of a leg problem. I've got a pain in the front of my leg, upper thigh, front, and I'm told that it's a pinched nerve at L3. I had an MRI and subsequently a cortisone shot, and it's getting a little better. But came home the middle of July, home here in central Mexico, and walking down by the lake, and it's feeling a little better. So we'll see what's going on with that. Play volleyball, but I'm not sure my teammates like me playing volleyball with a gimpy leg. Anyway, that's for another video. We're going to be here through, it's now middle of August. We're going to be here through the end of September, and then we're going back up to Rapid City where the motorhome is. And we're going to go Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Oregon. We have kids in Portland. And by then it'll be late October, early November. We'll be bitching about the rain and heading south. We're going to do Quartzite again in January. And come on. We'll see what we can find to do. In the next month I'll be making some more videos here in Mexico about life in Mexico, and then we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.